Life shouldn't be hard. Life should be a fun-filled adventure every day. So now start joining up dots. Tap into your talents, your skills, your God-given gifts, and tell your boss, you don't deserve me. I'm out of here. It's time for you to smash that alarm clock and start getting the dream business and life you, well, of course, are dreaming of. Let's join your host, David Ralph, from the back of his garden in the UK, or wherever he might be today, with another jammed-packed episode of the #1 hit podcast, Join Up Dots.
Yeah, good morning to you, and welcome back to Join Up Dots. Yes, I'm your host. Of course I am, David Ralph, and what we're going to talk about today, well, I think this is something really important because it drives through every aspect of creating your dream life, and a dream life that isn't just a slog, because that's what people do. They decide that they want to have their own life, they want to create their own income, and they actually create a nightmare. And we're all about doing the opposite. We're all about joining up the dots so your life is easier. So today what I want to do is tackle a sort of invisible wall between you and the life you actually want to live. I want to start with a psychological test, I suppose. So what I want you to do, I want you to imagine that I'm walking towards you right now, and you think, oh, he's a very attractive, sexy individual. But away from that, I just want you to imagine I'm walking towards you right now. And as I'm doing it, I reach into my pocket and I pull out 10 crisp notes. No, we'll make it more than that. I pull out £1,000, okay? And I just hold them out to you. And I say, here. These are yours. No strings, no catch, no hidden cameras. You don't have to do anything untoward. It's not illegal. I just want you to take the £1,000 and have a world-class day and enjoy yourself. Now, be honest. Does your stomach tighten a little bit? Do you kind of immediately look for the trap? Why is this guy giving me £1,000? What, there must be something, do you think to yourself, no, do you basically feel suspicious? And I think most people would, because they think it's too good to be true. Now, because you've been programmed with a fundamental lie throughout your life that says if money comes too easily, it must be a scam or it must be illegal or something, then you're caught in this trap. And it's a trap when you've been told that if you aren't sweating or exhausted, you haven't earned your keep. And we call it the mental concrete because it keeps you rooted to the spot. And today, my friends, we're going to bring in the hammer and smash it all to pieces, because what we're talking about is, I think most of us have inherited this ancestral curse of we have to grind to make things work for us. If you think about sort of people in your past generations, your granddad, for example, for him, survival was probably tied to physical output. If he didn't have a job to go to, if he didn't polish his shoes, if he didn't plough the land, then it was no food. It was like back-breaking stuff. It was hard work. It was a survival mechanism. But we don't live in that world anymore. We live in something where we can leverage to minimum effort. We can make the most of one thing and make an absolute fortune on the back end. But most of us are still operating with that sort of peasant mindset. I see it every day. People build an automated system, it starts making sales, and then they sabotage it. They start fiddling with things that don't need fixing just to feel busy. They feel like they're cheating at life because they made £500 while walking the dog. And I'm telling you this because I've done this many, many times through Join Up Dots, where I'd create a system, I'd get a sales funnel working, it's making money, but I didn't really understand how it was doing that because it's too easy, so I smashed it all to pieces. It sounds mental now, but it's the hard cold truth that I wasn't at the point at that stage to think that money comes easily to you. Okay. I felt like I had to suffer, but you don't have to suffer. If you spend 3 years hand carving a laptop with a cotton wool bud, the customer's still going to buy the MacBook made by a machine in 10 minutes. They don't pay for your sweat. They don't care. They pay for the value of what they're getting. And it's that value word that you've got to aim for. And it's that value word which means that you can then swan around doing what you want without worrying about paying the bills. If you're stuck thinking about the effort instead of the result, you're going to stay tired and you're going to stay broke. Okay. Now, through Join Up Dots, I don't do a lot of interviews anymore like I used to, because I used to meet guys making six figures who also looked like they hadn't slept since 1994. They were actually proud of their 80-hour weeks. But when you factor in the stress and the missed school plays and the gin they need to stop their hands shaking at night, their true hourly rate is worse than a paperboy's. And once again, I was like this. I remember going to see my kids in a play of the Wizard of Oz, I think it was, and I realised my daughter wasn't coming on till sort of 10, 15 minutes in. So I made sure I was right at the back of the school hall where I could just like lean back and close my eyes. And I opened my eyes and the whole school hall was empty. Everybody had seen the play, they'd gone, and I was fast asleep at the back because I was just exhausted by trying to grind. And you don't have to. Being busy is often just a form of laziness. Now, what do I mean by that? How can you be busy but you can be lazy? Because you're lazy because you've allowed lazy thinking into your life. You've allowed yourself not to think about how do you separate yourself from this task? How do you allow automation to do it for you? You've allowed yourself to just stay on the treadmill doing the low-level tasks than actually designing a system that makes the treadmill redundant. Join Up Dots at the moment is going through a whole new rebranding. Every single element of Join Up Dots is leading to automation. So it's something that, as I'm developing it, I think to myself, what happens if? What happens if a customer clicks on this? Am I then linked to it? Am I then part of the process? And it's that designing and becoming an architecture of your freedom, which is the key to being busy. You're busy while you're doing it, but every question is leading to you having that life of automation when you can just go off on holiday for as long as you want, okay? If you succeed making passive income, you will lose your excuse to be tired. And I know that because people go, oh, yeah, I'm so busy. I'm so tired. Oh. The hardest worker in the room is the worst worker. And I see that all the time now. In entrepreneurship, if somebody is slogging, if somebody is doing 80 hours, they're just a rubbish entrepreneur. If somebody is playing golf in the morning and learning to fly a plane in the afternoon, then I think that they have mastered it. They have moved from the grind to success architecture. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're building a business or you're running your own business and you're thinking, when the hell do I get a chance to fly an airplane? When do I play golf? You've got to start becoming the architecture of your business. It's designing your life so the default state is profit and not effort. If you think of something like indoor plumbing, the hard work is laying the pipes. But once the pipes are laid, it's just stupid to keep running up and down the stairs with a bucket just to fill up the bars. You just turn the taps on. You've already done the hard work to create a system that means you don't have to anymore. But most of you aren't like that. Most of you won't allow yourself to think that money is easy to make, because you want to see the proof. And I understand that totally. So what you start with is the small proof. If you've listened to Join Up Dots enough, I always say about finding the smallest bill and looking at replacing that. That's your starting point, okay? Don't try to make 10 grand passively on day one. Just try to make 50 pence. Because when that 50 pence lands in your account while you're eating a sandwich, and I remember my one was, the first one was £1.25 on AdSense. And I thought, Christ, money's just come to me. And it was £1.25, but it really made me want to press F5 on my keyboard all the time to see what happened. And then I got it to like £3.56 a day, and then I got it to £15, and it still doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it was the proof of concept. It was the proof that I didn't actually have to be there. I wasn't working, and money still appeared. And that's why you've got to give yourself permission to receive the easy wins. You know, and I promise you, I'm not going to walk up to you and just give you £1,000. But the concept was there. How did it make you feel when you were listening to it? Did you think to yourself, yeah, there's got to be a catch, or, oh, yeah, I'll just take this all the time? Okay. So you've got to really think about that. It's about value over effort all the time. And it's about being the architect of your own freedom. As I say, Join Up Dots is going through an absolute change. And every single question is, how can I amplify the message? How can I deal with more people whilst I'm away in a garden somewhere? Simple. You architect your freedom. You're a design freedom architect, okay? So I want you to realise that passive income isn't about sitting on a beach until your brain turns to mush, okay? That's rubbish, and I've done that. And a relaxed entrepreneur stops struggling but goes into a sort of slump, really, okay? When your survival is no longer tied to your time, that is the different thing. And that's when you actually start doing your best work, because you become more creative, because you're not hanging on that end product. You're thinking to yourself all the time, okay, yeah, I can do this, and I can test this, and I can breathe this. So your homework for today, if you want homework, and I'm not going to come round and check and scribble all over your book in red pen, but I want you to just look at your life and find one bucket. Just one manual, soul-sucking task you do because you've always done it. And think to yourself, how can I lay one pipe to make that easier in the future? You're not going to be sort of making money at this stage. You're just going to be thinking about, how can I start to automate that? And with AI and everything going on now, you've got so much opportunity. All you've got to do is start thinking about joining up those pipes or joining up those dots. How do you make that one thing easier for you? Okay, so I'm David Ralph, of course. This has been Join Up Dots. Go out there and break some concrete, and for heaven's sake, take a nap as well. Just take a nap in the middle of the afternoon, because you've earned the right to let that machine work harder than you do. And that's what it's all about in Join Up Dots. It's about creating income, but freedom. Okay, so anyone wants more information on that, joinupdots@gmail.com. As always, you can come over to the contact page and see our sexy rebrand that we're doing. But for everybody else, we will be back again on Wednesday with another episode. You look after yourself, and you, of course, stay sexy, because there's no better way. And we'll see you again. Look after yourselves. Cheers. See ya. Bye-bye.
Waking up.